Aloha Namaste, my name is Matt. Welcome to your yin practice. Today's class is going to be focused on the first and second chakra, really focusing on rooting in to stability and trust. And then with that security that we build in that first chakra, moving into flowing with the changes of life and being able to move freely. This is especially going to be focused on opening the hips. So what you'll need for this class is a strap, blocks or a bolster or multiple blankets just as support for some of the poses that you may want to create elevation, and then perhaps a blanket. So I have a blanket underneath me for this first pose. There's a couple poses you might want to sit on a blanket to kind of help elevate the hips. And with that being said, we're going to head into our first pose. So first up, we're going to bring the legs wide. So this is where you might want to have a blanket underneath, and just going to make your way into this very, very slowly. Have everything kind of within arm's reach. So for this one, blocks or bolster. You want to keep the feet flexed. Try to come as wide as you can. That's nice and comfortable. If the range of motion is limited, then just slightly bring in the legs closer. Blocks or bolster is going to be for support, and we're just going to slowly inch our way forward. You can maybe bring your hands forward first, and then as you have the range of motion, we're going to slowly move deeper into the pose. So with a yin practice, it's about letting go, surrender, and checking in with the more subtle body, slowing things down. So right away, with this wide-legged forward fold, beginning to let go, reset. As traditional in yin classes, we'll be holding each pose for an extended period of time. So it's not about forcing pose, trying to push into anything. It's all about letting go and going with what feels most comfortable and ultimately restorative for you. Big deep breaths. And as you feel inclined, you can just kind of inch your way deeper into the pose. Again, remembering that you'll be holding this for about 5 minutes each pose, give or take. Deepen your breathing. Coming forward into the pose. Releasing the hamstrings, the hips, keep the feet flexed. Making small micro adjustments as needed. Just rounding the spine. Relaxing into the pose. It's a deep hamstring stretch. So given that we're going to be bringing our attention to the root chakra today, as you're in this pose, just deep breathing, we want to also turn our mind's eye to focus upon the subtle body rooted into the ground. Imagine roots growing through the legs into the ground like big roots, with hundreds of little roots coming down off of them. The base of the spine, giant root down into the ground. Feel your groundedness. And with these legs wide, notice the stability. Breathe deep into the pose. So as we set up our foundation here, we are bringing attention to trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition to guide us, to know what is best for our body. So this practice of yin is all about tuning in to the mind, tuning in to the subtleties of a pose. Continuing to settle, notice any fluctuations of the mind, trying to maybe escape the pose, chattering on about things that have gone on maybe today, wondering how long it's going to be in the pose. Notice any restlessness, and if you can bring your attention back to the experience. Breathe into the sensation and see if you can come just slightly deeper. Always trusting yourself. Just about one more minute here. If you want, you can come a little deeper. But as always, just relaxed. We are not trying to attain or reach anything. We're trying to tune in with what is. How is the body showing up in this moment? How is the mind showing up in this moment? How is the emotional body showing up in this moment? Becoming aware. Just a couple more deep breaths here. On your next inhale, slowly start inching your way up. No rush. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to be. Perfectly in process with the pose. Slowly making your way back up. Bring your hands behind your back. Just lift the chest. Big inhale. We're going to slowly transition into the next pose. So left leg bends, bringing heel into the groin, and we're going to come over to the right side and coming down. Again, if you want to use blocks, you can prop under here, the elbows, give you some height, or if possible, coming deeper into the pose. Hands can come to frame the ankle, knee, and forehead. Come to touch. Any variation that feels right. Trusting the intuition of the body. Learning to trust the signals of the body versus sensation, the messages of if something is actually wrong, like a pain, or if it's just sensation, if it's tightness, if it's an energetic or emotional tightness or strain. And breathing into it, learning to trust and know the difference between the two. Trusting yourself. Trusting that your body knows what to do. and knows how to communicate with you. Big deep breaths. Again, slowly working into the pose as need be. As we focus on our roots here, notice the difference with the left leg bent. Tuning in with the stability of it, the change, the shift in energy. Notice the stretch in the trunk of this tree that is our body. Feel the stretch in the low back, the lengthening as it rounds forward. Continue to feel all of that energy rooting down into the ground, into the earth. Know that you are held. Know that you are nurtured. Know that you are provided for. Know that you can trust yourself. Can trust your intuition to guide you to well-being. Continue to imagine all these roots growing down into the ground, tapping into an infinite supply of rich water and nutrients. Continue deep breathing. Feel the low back release. Feel the energy be able to flow freely. Imagine the tree analogy, the roots deep and healthy. But as they come up to the beginning of the trunk of the tree, imagine if all of that, all those nutrients and water was blocked as the pathways were knotted and clogged. It's great for the roots, but the rest of the tree would not be able to benefit. As we expand and release the back, we are beginning to allow all this rooted stability, all this foundation of trust to be able to flow up the energetic system and into the rest of the chakras, into the rest of the energy body. So at the base of our spine, it's so important to keep it open and relaxed. A couple more deep breaths. Feel the rootedness onto the earth. Feel gravity's gentle pressing down into the earth. On your next inhale, slowly inch your way back up. No rush, nowhere to be. Deep breaths. Again, we're going to make our way to the top. Feel the difference in the body. Hands can come behind the back just for a very gentle heart opening. So I want you to take a moment and with that discussion of the nutrients pulling from the earth and up the trunk of this beautiful tree. I want you to notice the low back now coming out of that stretch. Feel the flow, the flood of circulation, the lightness. Breathe some of that energy up. All right. Moving into our next pose. Right leg's going to stay extended. And if you need to, you can maybe wiggle it out, bounce it out, whatever feels good. Maybe give it a little shake, give it some love. And then when you're ready, left leg is going to come up and over. So I'm going to reposition my blanket for this one. There we go. So left leg is going to come up and over. The heel, you're trying to get the left heel to the right hip. Okay, so knee is bent. And you're ideally stacking knee over knee here. Inhale, chest lifts. And we're going to slowly inch our way down. Big hip stretch. Now you can start with blocks or bolsters if you'd like. And if you're feeling comfortable, again, there is no rush. We're going to be in this pose for a while. You can slowly inch your way down. Going at your pace, trusting yourself, trusting the body to communicate, knowing the difference between sensation and stretch and flow from any sort of pain or signal from the body that it's maybe a little too much. There's no rush. You can think of it this way, there's nothing really to attain. It's just about giving the body what it needs. So, in a sense, as long as we are listening to it, then you are succeeding. So often in yoga we get so attached to achieving something, either the full depth of the pose or some extreme pose that we feel is maybe more enlightening or better. We create these ego hierarchies, when in reality it's just about being here now, exactly with what is, and just loving it. To actually suspend any judgment. That is the bliss. That is the contentment. That is lasting happiness. Learning to be able to appreciate this exact moment, however it is. That's the real secret. So listening to your body, if we were to draw attention to the roots again, notice this added weight pushing into the earth as we kind of stack and layer the body. Now again, notice the difference in the foundation here. Notice the difference in the stability. Notice the difference in the level of security, and just see what's there. What is the mind? What are the emotions? What does the physical body have to say? Just becoming aware. Just observing it. Just witnessing it for what it is. Notice the longer you're in the pose, a shift, if any, in the energy. Notice a shift in the stretch. Notice the body maybe releasing and opening, stretching in new ways. The longer I stay in the poses, I notice new aspects reveal themselves. It's one of my favorite aspects and richness of yin. It's that you really get to explore a pose for all its benefits. Plus, it is very relaxing. Just a few more breaths here. When you're ready on your next inhale, slowly coming up. Again, we're going to bring the hands behind the back, open the chest, give the spine just a little bit of a release. All right. From here, we're going to plant the left. We're just going to do a slight little counter twist here. So you're going to plant the left foot on the outside of the right knee. Left hand's going to come back behind you. Sit up nice and tall. Right elbow is going to hook around this left thigh. And the hand can come down, just a gentle twist. Or if you'd like, you can keep the arm up. We don't want to be extending too much force here. It's just about a gentle twist. Just a couple breaths. All right, on your next inhale, release, unhook the arm. And shake out the legs. All right, good job, right side. Good job. You bring the knee into chest for a moment. That was a lot of hamstring stretching, a lot of root work. You roll out the ankle. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to be transitioning to the other side, so make any adjustments that you need to with blocks and bolsters. Reposition your blanket if needed. And we're going to head over to left leg extended, right heel comes into the groin. If you enjoyed using the blocks earlier or bolster, go ahead and frame. And when you have everything ready, sit up nice and tall, flex the left foot. Feel the heel rooted into the ground, sitting up tall. Inhale and exhale, make your way down. Again, we're in the pose for a long time, so maybe notice if there is a sense of rush or trying to reach something in the pose. Maybe start to really slow yourself down and just witness that experience of wanting to rush, wanting to get into it, wanting to get to the full depth. Something like that. Notice if there's anything going on. And then just breathe. And be here now. Checking in with sensation, feeling the root of the body come into this pose. Feel the sacrum rooting into the floor, into the earth, the heel pressing down, and then if you can, feel, if you're fully extended, feel the hamstrings and the calves rooted into the floor. Imagine again big tap roots going down into the earth, holding us secure, nurturing us and providing us with the resources we need. Heading over to the right leg, noticing the shin, the right thigh, the hips, the whole foundation. Notice all these points of groundedness. And coming up to the low back, the trunk, opening and allowing all this groundedness to be able to move up into the rest of the system, creating a beautiful pathway that is open and freely flowing. We want to continue to keep that channel open, otherwise we have all this beautiful energy in our lower chakras that can't keep moving up the system. So in life, the root chakra is concerned with these topics of our basic and primal foundation of security. So home and family, shelter, food, finances, sense of trust that all will be well, that we will survive, that we will make it. An innate trust that we will be guided to the resources that we need, to the security that we need. So we honor this foundation. We honor that we deserve to have this firm foundation. And that tends to be the biggest thing with the wound in the first chakra, is we limit the level of security that we will let ourselves enjoy. So whether that's, the relationship, our sense of stability and security in our relationships, in our home, in our finances, in our taking care of ourselves, in our food, in our personal needs. We are allowed to enjoy abundance of all these categories, divine, loving abundance. You are worth it. You deserve it. You're allowed to enjoy security of the heart, in your love and your sense of worth, security in your needs, whether it's food and shelter or finances,
security in your finance and the ability to attain the things you may need, whatever that may be. You deserve to enjoy security in all areas of your life. As we breathe into this foundation, give yourself permission to be firmly rooted, to be securely rooted. Good mantras here are, I am safe, I am allowed to be here, I am provided for, I am guided, I am abundant, I am secure, I trust. Trust is a big one. On your next inhale, very slowly coming out, trusting your process, making your way up, hands behind the back, and just a nice little counter, chest opens. The main sensation here is the release of the back. So we're releasing that trunk now. What I want you to feel is as you counter and slightly come back, come out of the rounding. So just slightly leaning back enough to get out of the rounding of the blowback. Feel the release and feel, if you can, a little flow. Like, right? Because you just stretched all of that and kind of opened it. And as we lean back now, you should feel a bit of a lightness as it releases. It's that flush of new circulation, being able to move through the system. Just taking a moment, however you need to just feel into that. Shake out the leg if you need before we head into the next pose. And when you're ready, we're going to bring the right leg up and over. So transition, moving blankets, getting your bolsters, whatever you may need, your blocks. Here we go. Right heel to the left hip, knees stacking, left foot is flexed. Getting nice and comfortable. There is no rush. It is all on your time and your body's time. Trust in that. Trust in your pace. And when you are ready, slowly come on down. Trust in the range that you would like to start in. And allow yourself to just feel into the sensation of being able to slow down, relax. On this topic of trust and security, we often rush to get our security in whatever form that is. But ironically, in doing so, we lose our foundation. This is often seen with a deficient root chakra, meaning the deficient in that the roots are shallow because they're constantly being uprooted. Too much movement. And that's when there's fear around our security. We think if I move faster, maybe I will become more secure. But in the paradox of healing, it tends to be facing the fear of what we don't want to do, and on the other side of that is what we desire. So if you notice a impatience, a rush to move your life forward, whether it be in the pose or in financial pursuits or in love or relationships or in possessions, needing to buy the next thing as quick as possible to create a sense of security or abundance. Ironically, if we have that tendency, we need to slow down and enjoy our abundance and realize that we are secure and that we can trust that there's no rush. Trust that it's coming, because technically that rush can sometimes be coming from a fear that if I don't hurry, I might not get it. So we want to slow that down. Slow it down by seeing how empowering it is to let things come to you sometimes. That's a statement of power, not a weakness. And on the other hand, if we notice we are very slow to move, to act, slow to do what must be done, we might have an excessive root. We might be so deeply rooted that we have an inability and a difficulty to move. So the opposite, if we find that we are sluggish, slow to make changes in life, slow to address our needs, then we might need to release fear in the form of holding on too tight. So the fear may be, oh no, if I move, if I give up some of this security, I might not get it back. So excessive root is usually hoarding or clinging in these categories of life. So hoarding or clinging to our money, hoarding, or in this case, clinging to a relationship, clinging to it, basing so much of our worth on it that now it's too impossible to let be free, or hoarding or clinging to possessions. The source of trust here is, I will be okay even with or without this. So a different process. Same chakra, same topics, different approach. But notice the process is the same. It's all about trust. So in this case, it's trusting that I can let go and it's going to be okay. It will come back. There will be more. There's more than enough. I can flow and change and release, and it will come back to me. Not needing to hold so tightly, whether it's to love, security, finances, possessions, knowing that these things can sometimes come and go. But you trust that you will always be taken care of. Just one more deep breath here. And on your next inhale, slowly coming up. Again, we're going to counter, just bringing the hands back again. I want you to notice the release in the low back. Heart opens, maybe drop the head back slightly, just very gently. Feel the release. And then just a slight twist. So, right foot comes down next to the left knee. Right hand's gonna come back behind you. Left arm up and over. So you're gonna hook the left elbow to the outside of the right thigh. You can stay here, just lift it again. It's very gentle. We're not trying to push into this or go too deep. You can either stay here or you can even just bring the hand down to maybe deepen it with a little more of a relaxed bend. And just 2 breaths. And on your next inhale, release. All right, we're gonna come back to center. Nice and slow. Before we do that, maybe hugging in the left leg if you need. Thank you, roots. Thank you, legs. Give that hamstring and leg love. Come back to center. All right. So next pose, we're gonna bring bottoms of the feet together. You're gonna sit up nice and tall. You can have your blocks and bolsters nearby to come forward. All right, so setting up the pose, just feeling comfortable. Again, this one's can be really intense on the groin, so you just want to take your time. Take your time. You're going to be in it for a while. So there's a few things you could do. You could put blocks here to support. You could use your arms. You could also have blankets or bolsters here as well as support, or none of the above. It's all up to you and listening to your body and what you need. So take whatever variation you need, and you're just going to slowly come on down, slightly coming forward, give extension, and then a nice beautiful rounding into the back. We're opening up the groin while also rounding the back, coming forward. So if we're to continue to build off this tree-rooted analogy, you want to notice that we're somewhat transitioning, right? Yes, we still have our foundation here. Unless you have a really good range of motion, your legs might be completely flat on the ground, but for most of us, it's just our feet and our sacrum. So we're gonna start moving into the second chakra now, into the hips. So here's the movement of the analogy. We now are focusing on, we had all this energy moving through the roots. If we imagine the legs were huge roots with a bunch of little mini roots growing off of them. Now, notice that we're opening the channels that the legs, as they attach into the sacrum, opening that. So again, to use the analogy, we're letting that energy and those nutrients get to the rest of the body, opening the low back to again allow the energy to flow. So the front side, the groin is opening, allowing the energy to move from the legs, from the roots, up the system. And then on the back side, we have the low back, opening and expanding to allow the energy to continue to move as well. So as we head out of the root chakra, we find trust, right? We face the fear of doubt. Maybe it's not gonna work out. Maybe I'm not gonna be provided for. Maybe it's not gonna be okay. And we respond in one of those two ways. But as we move past this, and we begin to build awareness of just how loved we are, how held we are, how guided, protected, and secure we are. If you observe nature, it doesn't struggle to provide. There's so much abundance. And as humans, we because of this ego, this human ego that can be programmed, we lose sight of our true nature, which is trusting in that divine connection, that we will be loved, provided for, protected, and nurtured, and our needs will be met abundantly, not just scarcely, abundantly, in the most loving way you can allow. And now we're going to take that energy with that trust, that beautiful trust, moving it into the flow of life. Second chakra, the flow, the change of life. When we are stable and strong and secure in our trust in ourselves and the divine, and that our needs will be met, we're able to meet the changes of life, the constant fluctuations that are the second chakra. Emotions, desires, pleasure, but with that also comes the challenges of pain and the emotions that are also attached to the attachments of change, the loss, the perception of loss. So we have these positive emotions of pleasure, they're wonderful, but with them also comes this other world of the emotions that we deem a little more negative, or we could say more destructive in their energy. So we begin this next segment of the class by opening the hips and moving into embracing the changes of life with ease, relaxed, going with the flow confidently, swimming with the stream confidently, not being afraid. As we address the fear in the root chakra, we move into the flow confidently, peacefully. It's almost like if we were to use the river analogy, the root chakra would be developing the skill and the security of knowing how to swim. And as we move into the second chakra, we are jumping in the river of life, confident that we know how to swim, confident that we will survive, confident that we will enjoy the journey. A couple more breaths here. Focus on opening, expanding as we continue to move the energy. On your next inhale, slowly come up. All right, this is a big one, so just slowly support yourself to come in. And take a quick counter pose. Bring the feet together to a nice comfortable seat. Hands come back behind you. And open the chest, release the spine. Give that sense of release. Just a very, very subtle, small back bend. All right. Okay, so for this next portion of the class, you're going to want your strap nearby. And you can use a blanket on the mat if you'd like. Just a totally preference. We're going to be on our backs for the remainder of the class. So go ahead and do any preparations that you may. Bringing the blanket. I'm going to go ahead and fully extend mine. There we go. Okay. Nice and gently, slowly easing your way onto the back. Oh, yes. Just take a moment here. Knees can be bent, maybe just very gentle side to side. Oh, yeah. So all of this release in the low back, so much work in the legs and in the sacrum. Just kind of shake it out side to side. Feel the low back opening, and we're opening that energy channel. All right, come to center. Now we're going to move more into the hips. So first we're just going to take a gentle, happy baby. So bring the hands to the inside of the feet. Now being sure to keep your sacrum on the floor. Spine is nice and heavy. Just work with the range of motion that you have, opening the hips. Nice and slow here. If you need to, you could do straps here. If this range of motion is a little hard, you could also just hold at the shins, right? So if you want to really focus on keeping the sacrum down, my range of motion can be somewhat tight here sometimes. So sometimes I'll just be here. I'll just start with this rather than coming up here and lifting completely off, right? So work with what range is available right now, and then we're just gonna hold, and it might open. You might be able to progress as we hold the pose here for a few breaths. And just notice the difference. So first, take notice. Your root system is off the ground. Notice that your back is now the root, but all that work, first half of the class, notice your sacrum released, right? Notice the energy it's exposed in a sense. Now, if we were to go back to the energies of these chakras, first chakra was trust. So you can see how we develop that trust so that we can move now into the second chakra, which is this more vulnerable world of emotion, desire, pleasure and pain, movement, change. It's a totally different energy. And so, based on how secure and trusting we feel, this pose itself, just notice if anything's coming up. I can tell there's so much openness and vulnerability in a sense. After all that time rooted with the sacrum down, now it's up. It's like, whoa, okay, this is different. Kind of feel into this for just a moment. I'm just gonna take a couple more breaths and then we're gonna transition into the next pose. Most importantly though, I want you to feel the energy difference. Very, very different now with the sacrum pointed up. Just notice any emotions, any thoughts, any energy shifts, checking in with all the different subtle bodies here. And then of course checking in with the physical body. How do the hips feel here in this pose? One more deep breath. See if you can get a little deeper. All right, and then on your next inhale, very slowly just come down. So for this next pose, we're gonna be bringing the left leg straight. Now you can use your strap here, but you don't have to. It'll be depending on your range of motion, so I'll show you the options. So we're gonna take half happy baby. So you can bring the right hand to the arch of the foot, the right side, or if you want, you could bring a strap. So this will help. There's a couple reasons why it could be range of motion first, but also maybe just ease, like you might just want to hold here and just kind of hold it. So it's just preference and range of motion determining that one. So take your variation and let the kitty out. Hey, come on, good boy. All right. And right leg comes up. Nice and slow here. So we're gonna be in this pose for a while. Okay, you gotta go. Okay. Okay, look out. Look out. There you go. Okay. All right. So taking your variation, bring the right leg up. And you can, depending on how you are positioned, you want to try to keep the left leg down as best you can. So notice the difference here. First was full happy baby. We tapped in and noticed the energy difference there. Now notice you have half rooted down again and now half open. So we're kind of working in segments here. Now just checking in first and foremost with the body, scanning, noticing maybe the hip, noticing the range of motion here. Just moving into this. Keeping the sacrum on the ground. So checking in with the foundation. The left heel is planted. Rooted. Spine is long. Relaxed. Face is relaxed. Everything is relaxed. Deep breathing. So checking in now with the emotional body, noticing if any emotions coming up. Checking in with the mental, any thoughts, any beliefs, anything's coming up here. And then the energy body, what does it feel like to have this whole root system exposed now? There's a whole first part of the class. We had this, hi buddy, we had this planted and rooted, and now half our root system is open. So it's almost like we're easing into it, easing into these flows and these changes. And you know, sometimes that's how it goes. We develop the trust, but then we kind of need to slowly venture out and explore it with a lot of time. A couple more deep breaths here. So my arm is actually getting tired, so I'm going to try the strap. It's all about ease. It's all about doing what feels best. Yeah. One more inhale. And exhale, release. And just kind of roll out the hip, those circles. Okay, so for this next one, go ahead and grab your strap. I'm going to come around the right foot. And this time fully extended. To set it up, first root in, left leg is extended, heel is planted, spine is long, everything is really heavy and rooted. And then when you're ready, just slowly moving the leg up and over. Oh, maybe a little shake is good. We're just gonna hold here. And you can just gradually go deeper if you'd like as we progress. Just taking your time though. No rush, no pressure. Just trusting. Got the shakes at the moment. Breathing into the pose here. Foot is flexed back towards your head. Left heel's rooted. Taking any variation with the hands that are most relaxed for you. So for me, I just have my fingers looped into my strap, so it's very relaxed. If it's more relaxed for you, you can have your hands down lower, just whatever feels best. So again, noticing the difference in the system with the root half lifted, the leg pointed up to the sky instead. It's almost like we are draining all those nutrients, all that energy into the system. Now we're moving it up. Just a couple more deep breaths here. Really feel the femur into the sacrum. And before we come down, just give it a little circle. So again, I want you to focus your attention into the femur joint. Just rolling it out. Notice the energy. Okay, so we're draining all this beautiful root energy into the hips. All right, and then slowly come down. Next pose, we're going to thread the needle here. So you're going to bend the left knee. Spine is rooted, sacrum is still rooted. Okay, so everything nice, upper body is nice and rooted. Right leg's going to come up and over. Right ankle onto the left thigh. Foot is flexed, protect the knee. Knee is out as much as you can here. So we keep it nice, 90 degree. Next up, you're going to reach through, right hand comes through, left hand out and around. You can either come to the thigh or interlace fingers on the other side on the shin. Again, keeping the right foot flexed. Should feel this in the right hip. And the knee is kept away from the head. Keep deepening the stretch. So you can give a gentle pull if you'd like to explore the range of motion here, but again, you're going to be in this pose for a little while. So we do want to stay relaxed, minimal effort. You can play around with coming maybe a little higher on the shin that could deepen the pose for you with minimal effort. All right, checking in with the physical, the emotional, the mental, and energetic bodies. Feeling into it. Noticing the sensations. Noticing the flow. Noticing the movement. So again, our base is lifted. The legs are lifted. So just notice the energetic difference of this. Notice the hips opening, almost like creating that river, that flow. The energy being able to move, almost like we're warming up to move. The sacral chakra, the second chakra, is all about that. It's all about movement, fluidity, emotion, pleasure, change. Breathing into these categories of your life. Is there a healthy flow of emotion? No attachment or aversion. If our emotions are really get the best of us, really huge emotions, we might have an excessive sacral chakra, second chakra. If we are constantly flowing, constantly changing, have a really hard time being content. If we chase pleasures and highs in life, if we really enjoy experiencing constant movement, we could have an excessive second chakra. Really loose hips. Maybe your range of motion is really loose and open. Your hips are open. So these are all signs of excessive sacral chakra. So what's really good here is the process is being able to take that trust that we built in our security, and now trust in our ability to handle the changes of life, and trust in our ability to find balance, containment. So if we were looking at the excess, we would say, where can we contain a little bit more? Where can we be a little more reserved? Where can we maybe move a little less, find more stability, slow down? Where can we appreciate more? If we really enjoy constant pleasure seeking, whether it's sexuality or food or substances or just experiences, pleasurable experiences, where can we find more contentment and focus on the richness of each precious moment rather than craving novelty? Where can we savor more rather than search more? One more deep breath here. Maybe going a little deeper into the pose. And exhale, release. Both legs come down, little windshield wiper, back and forth. And we're gonna head into the next side. All right. So this time, right leg's gonna come down. Feel the movement. As we move through the poses, continue to stay in tune with the body, noticing as you move, the energy shifts. The transitions are just as powerful and can be just as informative as the pose. So notice the fluctuations happening. Right legs come down, foot is flexed, heel is into the ground, and then we're gonna come up for our happy baby on their side, doing your best to keep this right leg planted, okay, especially the sacrum. You might have a slight bend. You wanna really try to keep this planted. And then again, whether it's with strap or with your hand, coming into the inside of the heel, half happy baby on the left side. Really slow into this. I'm actually gonna go a little slower into this. Now you might notice one side is tighter or looser than the other. Perfectly normal. And there's a whole beautiful depth we could go into that of, certain sides are attached to certain things in our development, our healing, masculine, feminine. It's just the beautiful embodiment of our inner work. Our body carries all these messages, all these stories for us to explore and dive into and find love and peace by listening to what is the body telling us. What does this mean? What's going on here? What message does it have for us? Speaking of that, check in. Physical, emotional, mental, or energetic. What's going on? Notice again, you have one side planted and the left side all exposed. So the roots are exposed. Sacrum exposed and open. As you keep breathing, just playing with the depth, range of motion here. We're going to lean into that trust that you know what your body wants. You know what feels good. Focusing on the energy in the hip. Deep breaths. So on the other side of the sacral chakra, we have deficient. Sacral chakra, the energy here could be deficient. The flow could be stagnant. So if the excess, if we were to refer to it as, they often refer to the second chakra as a bowl holding fluid. The passion, the movement, the flow of life. And the ideal is obviously to be contained, to be full, not spilling over. So excessive is like spilling over, or it has holes in it, and you just think, oh, I'll just keep adding more and more, and that'll fill it up, but then it just keeps draining out. So when we have excessive sacral energy in our life, we're moving too quickly, chasing too much, enjoying too much pleasure, letting the emotions just completely run us. Big emotional highs, big lows, big extremes really dominating our lives, just constantly spilling over. One more deep breath here. And when you're ready, you're just going to slowly transition into the next pose. Next pose, you're going to need the strap. Before you do that, just again, give your hip a little love if you need. All right, so the next one, leg is straight and extended, whichever variation felt good for you. Right leg extended and planted, heel is down, foot is flexed, and just holding, making your way into it. No rush, no rush. So when we have a deficient sacral, just checking in with this pose, bring awareness again to the femur and its attachment to the sacrum, so down here in the hip. Just bring awareness to that area. When we are tight in the hips, when we are really, really regimented in our pleasures and our sexuality, if we are really blocked and stiff in our emotional expression, and again, think of some key words that kind of come to mind are, it's like a stiffness, it's a numbness even, tight, rigid, regimented, very militant in a sense. This can be all things regarding deficient sacral chakra. So some of the characteristics we might see in our lives as we reflect on this energy, as we hold our hips open here. We might notice if it's tight, if it's stiff, where in our lives are we maybe not expressing how we really feel? Where can we maybe open our range of expression? Maybe be a little more vulnerable. Where are we clinging too tightly to change? Or shall we say things not changing? Where are we holding on, swimming upstream, resisting the flow of life? Are we maybe denying ourselves pleasure, denying ourselves joy? Do we maybe not allow ourselves to experience a healthy relationship with our desires, with whatever it may be, whether it's food, sexuality, experiences? Do we restrict ourselves? These are all the categories of the sacral chakra. So So just feeling into the hip. How is it showing up today? Draining and flowing this energy into the system. How is our channel? Is it open? Is the energy flowing into the hip? We're just gonna have a couple more breaths here. If you wanna go a little deeper into the stretch before we transition, just very gentle. Just taking inventory. Am I flowing just excessively, freely, all the time, spilling over, constantly needing to more? Or am I holding back, stiff, rigid, not living, loving, not enjoying the passion of life? Just checking in, taking inventory, slowly coming down on your next breath. Releasing the strap. This is our chance to just gain clarity, bring the knees up. Just a quick little cradle rock for a moment before we head into our final pose, our second to final pose. All right, right leg comes down. This time, left leg up and over, foot is flexed, knee pushed away from the face, ankle on the right thigh, bring the right heel up. Left hand comes through, right hand around the outside. You can either hold on to, interlacing the fingers, hold on to the thigh. This is the range of motion, or come to the shin. Whichever you choose, make sure the sacrum is still grounded and rooted. All right, so again, try not to strain too much, very gentle. We're gonna be in this pose for a little while, so you can just hold and ease your way into the depth that you would like. As you move your hands up, it'll help you get deeper into the pose. So you slide your hands up the shin. So this is starting out. Again, remember it's a process. All right, so we have a new pose in the hips. Feeling into it, checking in with it. Starting with the physical. Checking in with the emotional. Checking in with the mental. And checking in with the energy. Taking your time, deep breaths. First big energetic shift is we have our root system up again. Legs are lifted and the sacrum is up. So just feeling into that. Make sure spine is long. Shoulders, you want to try not to shrug forward, just be relaxed. Relax and just hold. Deep stretch in the left hip. Notice the sensations. Notice again what it feels like to have the root system a little more exposed. We're on our back. Hips are up, legs are up. What does that bring up for you? Yoga is an opportunity to explore our consciousness through what all these different bodies have to tell us. They all hold messages, whether it's in the physical, the emotional, the mental, or the energetic. We are the observer and witness of them all. Yoga allows us an opportunity to listen with real present awareness. Because sometimes all these different bodies might have been trying to communicate to us for many years through sensation, tightness, emotion, whether wanting to be released or being pent up, being released, overflowing, or the mind racing, trying to communicate a belief, a perspective, a concern that it wants looked at, or the energy body trying to get our attention to look at an area of our life that needs more harmony, needs more balance. All these things are tools to help us become more present, aware, and self-realized in the form of fully in our awakened conscious state, fully present with everything that's going on in this moment. Fully present with all the messages that our body is trying to pass on to us for our benefit. All these things are for our benefit. They're trying to reconcile things. They're trying to send love. They're trying to heal. They're trying to be addressed so that we can move forward, so we can move on, so we can progress in our evolution, in our sense of truth and love. These messages are for us to learn from so that we can truly enjoy true freedom, lasting happiness. Because so long as we have these messages going unheard and unrecognized, it's like leaving a wound untreated and unreconciled. It needs our conscious attention. We have to become conscious of it. We have to bring it out of the darkness of the unconscious or the subconscious and bring it to the light of awareness, where we can see it, where we can look at it, we can learn from it. Just a couple more breaths here, maybe coming a little deeper. And on your next inhale, release. And exhale. Feel the transition. Don't rush to the next pose. Stay present with every bit of the experience. It's not just about the poses. Feel the hip release. Feel maybe the blood flowing back into your hands, your fingers. Just a windshield wiper back and forth. Bring the knees into chest. Just gonna rock, just very, very gently. Open the hips perhaps, just play around with what feels best. Honoring all of that energy, that fluidity. Safe and secure with the flow and changing of life. Balanced, harmonious. Coming into our final pose of the class. Shavasana. So all this awareness we brought to the first and second chakra today. As you rest and lay here, with your eyes closed, relaxing every bit of the system. Just checking in with this area of the body. Where can you give it love? Where can you relax? Or where can you contain and honor? Every part of the system is equally important. Our more spiritual crown or third eye or throat chakra, these higher chakras are not better or more enlightened than our lower chakras, or shall we say our foundational chakras. Our primal needs, a balance of security and trust that our needs will be provided for, that all of our physical needs are secure, that we can trust that we will be nurtured and safe and protected, that we can handle the changes of life, the flows of life, the ebbs and flows, the arising and falling. And just settle into these things we talked about today, these areas of your life. Extending love where it is needed. Bring your hands to your sacrum. Just rest here for as long as you need. Honoring, bringing balance in whichever direction you notice today. You are loved. You are safe. You are secure. You can trust yourself. You can trust your intuition. You can handle the changes of life. You can trust in your capabilities. You can trust in your ability to stay balanced. You are wise. You are healed. You are whole. You are complete. Here and now. Take as long as you want in this pose. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to lead you through today's practice. From my heart to yours, namaste.